It's a question that can absolutely tear people apart, right? It tops up in movies, in songs, and maybe in our own lives. It seems so simple, but the answer is a whole universe of complicated. Welcome to The Explainer, where today we're diving headfirst into one of the most painful human puzzles there is. So let's just put it right out there. Does someone who truly loves you cheat? It's a question that feels personal to pretty much everyone. We've all seen it, or maybe even been through it. And our source material for today, a book by the author May Amigo gives us a totally new way to even think about the answer.
And a real quick thank you to Newdri Clinic for helping make this explainer possible.
Okay, before we go a single step further, let's get one thing perfectly 100% clear. The source is super firm on this, and so are we. This is not, and I repeat, not about blaming the victim, ever. We're here to understand the mechanics of what happens, not to make excuses. The responsibility is always, always on the person who broke the trust, period. Now, here's the first big twist in how the author looks at this. He says trying to define fidelity is kind of pointless. It's this big, fuzzy, abstract idea. Instead, if you really want to know why things fall apart, you have to get super specific about what actually breaks them. You have to define betrayal. And that brings us to the absolute core idea of this whole explainer, the betrayal contract. I want you to think of this like the hidden terms and conditions of your relationship. It's the full set of rules, both the ones you've talked about and the ones you haven't, that outlines exactly what counts as betrayal. And guess what? Every single relationship has one. So what's the difference, really? Well, a fidelity contract is just a vague promise, right? I'll be faithful. But a betrayal contract, that makes us ask a much sharper, much more useful question. Hey, what specific things would you consider a betrayal? See how that changes things? It moves us from a fuzzy promise to actual, real-world actions. And that leads us right to the heart of the problem. If every relationship has this contract, why do things go so wrong so often? Well, it's because the most dangerous parts of the contract are the rules that are never, ever said out loud. They just live inside your head. So every betrayal contract has two parts. You've got the explicit rules. Those are the obvious ones. You probably don't need to sit your partner down and say, hey, rule number 1, don't sleep with my sister. Society's kind of made that clear. But then you have the implicit rules. And these are your personal, unspoken expectations. They're built from your past, your values, your assumptions about how the world works. And this right here is the crucial point. Relationships don't usually blow up because of the rules you both agreed on. They blow up because of the unspoken ones. These are like little landmines, just waiting. One person thinks a rule is just common sense, a universal truth. Meanwhile, the other person has literally no idea that rule even exists. This is shown so perfectly in what the source calls the judgment matrix. Just look at this example from the male perspective here. For himself, watching porn? Not cheating. Simple. But if his partner does it? Whoa, that's cheating. He might think a long, emotional text conversation with an old flame is harmless, but for her, that could be a huge, massive betrayal. We're not just talking about a simple disagreement here. We're talking about two people in the same relationship running on completely different software. Okay, so this clash of unspoken rules basically sets the stage. But what is it that actually pushes someone to cross that line? To get that, we have to shift from the what to the why. We need to look at the motives behind it all. And again, I'm going to say it one more time because it's so important. Understanding the reason why something happened is not the same as justifying it. We're not lawyers trying to get someone off the hook. We're just trying to understand the forces at play. The author uses a really simple car analogy. Let's start with the brakes. These are all the things that stop someone from cheating. It could be their own internal character, a strong moral compass. It could be the simple fear of getting caught, or it could be thinking about the consequences, the idea of losing your family, your reputation, everything you've built. Those are the brakes. And on the flip side, you've got the accelerator. These are the forces pushing things forward. This could be pure, raw desire. It might be a simple opportunity that just falls into your lap. Or it could even be revenge, a feeling of, I'll show them. When the force on the accelerator is stronger than the force on the brakes, well, you can guess what happens. Now, this is where it gets really, really tricky. What happens when someone is flooring the accelerator, but in their mind, they don't even think they're breaking a rule? And this brings us right back to those unspoken, implicit contracts. The source calls these false motives, but I think it's easier to think of them as major misunderstandings. There are two main flavors. First, one partner genuinely believes you already cheated on them based on their secret rulebook, so they think their action is just payback. Or two, and this is a big one, they genuinely, truly believe that what they did was not a betrayal according to their own internal contract. They didn't break a rule, because for them, that rule never existed in the first place.
So, we've got these unspoken rules creating completely different realities for two people in the same relationship. And we've got this constant battle going on between our internal brakes and our accelerator. With all of that laid out on the table, I think it's finally time to face that big question we started with.
After all of this, what's the final answer? Can love really conquer all? Is it the ultimate shield against betrayal? But the author argues that maybe, just maybe, we've been asking the wrong question the whole time. It's too black and white. A better question, a much more human question, is this: can someone who genuinely loves you make a terrible relationship-ending mistake? And based on this whole framework, the answer is yes. Love does not make a person perfect. It doesn't make them infallible. When you've got unspoken rules creating chaos and powerful motives like desire and opportunity are slamming down on the accelerator, even someone with real love in their heart can make a huge, painful error.
At the end of the day, we have to remember what the source reminds us of here. The emotion we call love, it exists on a totally different playing field from the biological drives of lust and desire. And we just can't assume that love will automatically win that battle every single time.
So, what do you do with that heavy piece of information? Well, the goal here isn't to feel defeated or cynical about love. It's to realize we actually have a powerful tool to prevent this stuff from happening. This whole framework isn't just for doing an autopsy on a relationship that's already over. It's a blueprint for building one that lasts.
And the path forward really just boils down to two steps. They're simple, but they're not always easy. Step one is looking in the mirror. You have to figure out your own implicit betrayal contract. What are your real, absolute deal breakers? And then, step two is having the courage to have the conversation, to sit down with your partner and make those implicit rules explicit, to drag the unspoken stuff out into the light.
Because really, the most important relationship you can analyze with this framework is your own. So I'll leave you with that question. It might be an awkward conversation to start, for sure, but it's a conversation that could save you from ever having to ask our opening question for real. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.